last looks. We could.
Okay.
Thanks for sitting down and chatting.
Okay.
Caitlin, can you explain what your job is? Because when we met at production night out, that was my first time actually hearing about the hierarchy and where you fit into in a video production.
Absolutely. So I'm a production designer. I design the sets and I also lead the art department. So that means making decisions about the overall look of the film in terms of like the color palette, the way that the spaces, that the like world is going to look, and then also coordinating with wardrobe and the props department to make sure that everything feels like it fits cohesively together. So it's the overall look of the movie. So while you have the photography end of it, that's like the DP is making decisions about like lenses and how they're going to shoot, like placement of it. I'm doing all the physical like world building, like designing the sets and making sure that like all the art department is coordinated in building the world so that they have something to shoot, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Are you involved in budget talks on what can we achieve to create this environment, or what do we need to create this environment?
Absolutely. Usually they come to me and they'll be like, we want to achieve this thing and we have this much money, and I'll be like, we can do this for that much money. And trying to negotiate that, like, okay, maybe we can, if you see it this way, we could do this much with that much money, or if we want to spend a little more, we could go that much further with it, or if we spend a little less, well, you can do a scaled back version. You know, you're kind of working with within whatever their budget is to achieve what they're going for.
What's your background and how do you get into production design?
Okay, so I went to Drexel University for film and video production, and I have my bachelor's of science in film.
Cool.
And I started out as a production assistant, and I was trying to figure out like what department I fit best in. Someone suggested that I go and talk to the art department. And once I talked to them, I realized that like that was the place for me. I already do like a lot of drawing and painting and everything, but the thing that really attracted me to film is the world building aspects of it, and getting to make all those like little decisions about like the characters and like how you perpetuate the story through the visuals. And I realized that like the thing that really always resonated with me are the aspects of the world and the props and the things that like that. And so once I started talking to art department, I realized that like that really scratched the itch for me, like creatively, getting to be involved in all of that. And then it's also figuring out like the logistics of building something and like how to fabricate it and the engineering of it all, and that's really exciting. So yeah, I started out being a filmmaker, and then I kind of found satisfaction in doing the art department.
Okay. And it seems like you're in charge of a team, and you're brought in early in the process of building the films, and you're balancing budgets and expectations and things like that. So there's a level of a certain business acumen you have to have.
Yeah.
Where did that skill set come from?
Through doing it. I mean, I could always be better. I'm an artist at heart, so like I could always be better at it. But yeah, I had to learn, and I use Excel spreadsheets, and we keep track of things, and you know, just trying to like I picked up tips from other art department people about like how they do their books, or like how they keep track of all their receipts and everything. And I was a coordinator for a little bit when I started out. Like I started as a PA, I did some coordination and some associate producing. So I kind of learned what the expectations were for like keeping track of our expenses, and just go from there.
And so your typical responsibilities, once you talk to the director and the DP, you then start to try to build out your team underneath you?
Yep.
So you're actually doing hiring, you're doing budgeting, and how hands-on are you with some of those aspects? Or are you just picking the right team members to handle those things?
So I am non-union, so I do it all myself.
Okay.
If I was union, I would be the production designer, and I would hire an art director. And the art director would then be, like, me and the art director together would work on hiring everybody. The art director would be predominantly in charge of our budget, and I'd be working with them to make sure that like we were doing it, we were doing it together, we knew what was up, but I'd have a little bit of space to be the creative aspect, and the art director would be in charge of it, like of execution, the way that like an AD is in charge of like the logistics. So the director can then go and just focus on the creative aspects of it. It's a similar relationship, but I'm non-union, so I do a lot of it myself, where like, I do all the hiring. They tell me what they want. I go, I'm gonna hire this person and this person because I know they're good at those things. I keep track of our budget. I will make sure we have props or whatever. Sometimes I do it myself. It just depends on the scale. Yeah.
Are you looking to become union? How does that work? Or is that one of your goals to someday
I don't
get into the
know.
union?
Union's very different, and I'm really happy where I'm at being non-union. I have a lot more creative influence over the product. Like I have a lot more creative control and creative influence because I'm working directly with my team, and then also with like the director and the DP. I don't really know how different the job would be if I was in the union. But you know,
Never
I
know what
like
life
unions. Unions are great. Yeah, yeah.
At what point did you say this can be a career? Because a lot of us go to school for one thing and we pivot to something else in life. So what job or what point in your life were you like, all right, I can make a living
Doing this.
Yeah.
Never.
Never.
I still every day wake up and go, I should get a real job. This isn't gonna work, but I have enough money in my bank account right now, and the last gig worked out, and I'm just gonna keep going until it runs out. I don't know.
Over the years, what projects have you worked on that really excited you and you're really proud about?
One of my favorite projects is Party to Die For, which is a Tubi movie, so you can watch it for free. It was one of their really successful ones, actually. The director went on to do more Tubi movies for them because they liked it so much. But two main characters are both women. They're working in a designer handbag store, so I got to like decorate out a whole designer handbag shop, and I got to work with a place that was a designer handbag store, and so I redecorated it and everything. And I was so happy because the woman who owned it really liked what we did, and kept a lot of the stuff that I picked out, which was really cool. And then also, it was one of the first times I got to do a full house. So the love interest, his house is Muhammad Ali's old mansion that's in Jersey. I know, super random.
Yeah.
And we wanted to go for like a modern look. And so that was really exciting for me because I got to really dive into making this space look very high end and modern and fit like a more masculine aesthetic while making it seem new. And I just had a lot of fun decorating that space. So I was pretty proud of the way that came out.
In photography, sometimes people specialize in certain genres and types. In production design, are there people who are known for fantasy design, known for homes, and known for futuristic? Is there a concentration that at some point you may choose, or are you a generalist? Or do you just fall into? How does that work?
I think I'm kind of for me personally, I think I'm too early in my career to have a specific thing that is my thing and people come to me for that. Mm-hmm. But that is definitely
a thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Okay. Because you're thinking about when you're making your movie, you're the director, right? And you're thinking I want it to have this specific aesthetic that I'm going for. Maybe you're making a sci-fi. And it makes total sense to me that you'd be looking for a production designer that can execute what you want, or has the same taste as you. That makes total sense to me. I think for me personally, I really like to do, I get excited about the girly stuff. Mm-hmm. And so anytime I get to do stuff that's a little bit girlier, I like doing it. And then it's also really fun for me to push myself and do more masculine, more grungy stuff, So yeah, I like it all.
When you look at a movie, are you in tune, or a TV show or a commercial, are you very in tune to like the production design? Are you like, hey, why is
Definitely.
that book on that shelf? That doesn't fit, or do you just kind of enjoy it? And
No, I totally watch the background. I love
yeah,
looking for good wallpapers.
good wallpapers.
Wallpaper is so tricky because you have to think about like the scale of the wallpaper and how it's gonna like look against like the other costumes and everything, and it's a big pattern. So like, do you have a lot of pattern in your costumes? Because then you probably don't want a really big bold wallpaper. Or do you have things that are more simplified? Maybe you do want a big wallpaper. And I think a lot of people run into, like, I don't like it when there's just big blank wall, like a big blank white wall. It just looks kind of boring to me. So then, like, then you should put a wallpaper there. It's a whole, so when I watch movies, I love looking at like what wallpaper works for them. What are they doing here? Like, how did they make this work? And I definitely look for like all the little details. Color palette is a big part of what I do. When you're setting up your camera, I'm gonna over explain it now.
Go for it. I think somebody will benefit from that.
Okay, so you have your depth of field with your camera. A lot of the art department stuff, like a lot of the world that we're building, is gonna be out of focus,
Yeah.
or you're only gonna catch a little bit of it in your frame. And so most of the information that you're getting is actually the color. And so
Yeah.
I focus a lot on getting the color palette right for our backgrounds and for like that's another reason why it's very important that we coordinate with wardrobe and make sure that we're all on the same page about like the palette of what the characters are wearing and everything, and then what our background's going to be, because we don't want to be like we're going to put them in a space that's like everything's green and then our actress walk in and she's also wearing green. So when I watch movies now, that's one of the things that I look for, like what color palette did they go with? How does that influence like the rest of the movie? Like, I don't like it when people do red, yellow, blue. For some reason that irks me.
Okay.
But I do like it when people do like complementary colors. If they go like what I'm wearing today, which is red and green, or if they go like really orange and blue and you can see it in the back, like in the set choices, I think that is really cool. So, yeah.
What shows or movies had production design that really stood out to you and caught your eye?
Oh, I just saw The Substance. And The Substance, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen The Substance. So one thing, I'm not a big movie person. Like, yes, I watched the ones that everybody like, oh, you got to check this out, big blockbusters. But I'm sure, coming from a film background and studying film, you're a little more nuanced than my taste is. So The Substance. And this is probably a big movie everybody knows about. They're like, he's an idiot.
No. I actually, The Substance is such an underdog story, and I'm so happy for it because it got dropped by its distributor at first, and like it didn't get any play and stuff, and then people started talking about it, and like everybody talking about it, now it's being nominated for an Oscar, and they put it back in the theater because everyone was like, what is this movie that's like a sleeper hit? So yeah, I'm really happy with
The Substance has great production design.
So this is what I was gonna say. Different movies call for different kinds of production design. So some movies are very realistic and you want realistic design, right? Like you don't want everything to look like someone designed it. Maybe you want it to look messy or realistic or like people live there, and you don't want the color palette to be obvious. You want it to feel authentic. Like those characters just exist in this world and that's what it is, right? Like realistic end. But then there's the opposite end, which is the more like dramatic end, where you see it and you know that it's not real, it's a show, and you could do that with like really bright colors or sharp lines.
I follow you.
Sometimes it comes off as campy, but it's like just not realistic.
Yeah.
Okay. So with every kind of production design, you want to keep that in mind. So like when I think of like good production design, it could be anywhere on that spectrum. I really liked The Substance because it has it's not realistic production design. It feels a little bit camp, but then that's coordinated very well with the cinematography, which is also like a little bit intentional. It feels more like an art, like they're going for an intentional artistic choice. Exactly. It's an artistic choice. Camp's not the right word, but like an artistic choice that you know that it's a movie, a story that they're telling, it's a performance. And the sort of the production design plays into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. I'll definitely check that movie out this weekend. Or
Yeah. I'm trying to think of another movie that's like more realistic that has really good production design though, and I can't think of one off the top of my head because I haven't seen one in a while.
what pointers do you have for someone just starting out in production design? Maybe three.
The first thing I would say is get experience on set so that you know how a set operates, how production runs, how to talk to other creatives in that space. It's a very collaborative medium. And so you need to be able to not only understand the way that it all operates and be able to like understand what they're going for, but also be able to communicate with your team like quickly, efficiently, and understand like the overall thing that you're trying to execute. I just think the more experience you have like in the film community, the better you'll be able to, like the more time you spend on set, the more you'll understand the way that it all operates, which is a little bit different than some other mediums. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
I would also say art history is really helpful, not just studying paintings and things that you find at museums, but also studying like the history of furniture, the history of architecture and interior design, knowing like different decades and like what pieces influence like what like a hold on. I'm sorry, I get so nervous.
It seems like you're getting excited and passionate about just talking about art.
It. Yeah. It's like, if you know, like I love chairs, and it's so cool when I see a chair and I can, like at the thrift store, for example, and I can be like, that chair is 1950s. And I can tell that it's 1950s because it has this element and this element to it. And it's really exciting when it turns out I'm right. And it's also really helpful to know because when you're decorating for a character, you're building like what their room is going to be like, or what their living room is going to be like, or what a space they're interacting with is. It's really helpful to know like what, maybe they own something that's their grandmother's. And so it's going to be an older piece of furniture. Or maybe they're someone that's like really into mid-century modern. It's really helpful to know that that's like from 1960, that there's, certain chairs that are from specific designers and all of that, and like how it all goes together. It just gives you more information. So much of what I do is communicating with the audience at hyperspeed. You look at something and you have to understand it like that. You really only get like 10, 20, 30 seconds if you're lucky to communicate a lot of information. The character, like you get a lot of information from what they're wearing, about who they are. You also get a ton of information about who they are from the space that they're in. Like, are they at an office? What kind of office? What kind of work do they do? If you're in their home, like in their bedroom, like who are they? What kind of stuff do they keep? You get so much information, but you really only have like 10 seconds because you're really only seeing it on the screen for however long before we cut to close-up or we cut to something else. So the more you know about like stuff in the world, and the more you know like your art history, but like also, like I said, your architecture, and you know about like the different movements and things and how they affect the world, the easier it will be for you to communicate the information that you need to quickly.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So when you're coordinating with all these people about production and all of that, you're using Excel, you're using PDFs, or like, are you making a lot of decks?
Oh.
Because I'm curious, like what tools are you using? Because you're talking to a lot of people, and when somebody tells you something, you have to then transfer those words into a visual representation of what they said. So what's that process look like?
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the whole process, and hopefully this answers your question. So normally when I get called for a job, they'll send me the script and I'll read it and I'll make notes about like what kind of things are in the script, you know, I'll make notes about like everything that we need to execute in the script, but I'll also make notes about like, okay, this space could be like this, or, you know, notes about the characters or whatever. I'll make story notes, things that like make sense for the arc of the story, all of that. So then when I meet with the director, I'll talk about, you know, what their vision is, what they have in mind for the different spaces, what the overall story is that they're trying to tell, what the aesthetic is that they're going for, you know, any kind of information that's helpful to me about like the intention they have for the film. And then we'll also talk a lot about like the location. So I shoot a lot on location. We'll go and visit the sites and the spaces and talk about like what the blocking is going to be like, how they want to shoot in the space. Like if we're shooting at someone's home, now we got to think about like if we're shooting in someone's home, we have to think about it being an actual room. Is the camera going to fit in that actual room? How do we need to coordinate with like the blocking, or how do we need to coordinate with G&E to get everything in a small space? Or the reverse, like, you know, maybe we have a ton of space and we just need to figure out how they want to shoot it so we can build around what they're going to shoot. Stuff like that.
You're expressing this information that you're relaying back to them through PDF documents or through?
No, we have like meetings in real life. We'll have Zoom meetings.
Okay.
So then so after we have all these conversations and I have a clear idea of like what they want, what their expectations are, what we can actually do, then I'll create like a deck or mood boards, and I'll do that usually in PowerPoint. And so I'll do mood boards for all of the locations that we have and like what they will look like approximately. And then sometimes I usually do mood boards and I do Photoshop. Like I'll take photos of each of our locations and then I will find pictures of things that I want to use online. So, you know, I'll search for furniture that I think will work for us, or I'll go on prop houses' websites and I'll take the photos that they have of their furniture or of paintings that I want to use. I'll find those paintings, right? And then I'll Photoshop it all into the room and send them, and I'll send them my Photoshopped image of like, this is what it'll look like when we put everything in. And, you know, that'll include wallpaper, that'll include if we want to build something.
That's a lot of pre-pro.
Yeah, but it's really helpful for me because it's part of my process now, because I get to like try out different things. Like I'll go on websites and instead of like guessing what lamp is going to work for me or what furniture I think is going to work, I'll go on the website, find the photo of that couch or whatever, for example, and then Photoshop it into the space. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, that doesn't work at all. Like, I don't like that. And then I'll just go and find another one and Photoshop that in and test it out. And I find it really efficient because then I don't have to go and I don't have to send any crew members to go get it. We don't buy multiple couches or multiple lamps or whatever, because I've already tried out all the ones and I know exactly what I want now. I can take that Photoshopped image, show it to my, you know, my dressers and be like, this is what I want it to look like. And then they can go execute it. And then also, like I've done a lot of Comcast commercials, it's really nice to be able to show the client, like, this is exactly what it's gonna look like. All the furniture I'm getting is from, you know, IKEA or box stores or whatever, and then they get exactly that, you know? So it's really nice because then I can get, like, when they approve it, that is exactly what they're getting, you know? So that's
and when
my
you
process.
Present this document,
email,
yeah, you have to, does this document have words in it as well, like description, like a story almost? Because I know when I present a treatment for a photo shoot,
oh yeah,
I'm given the images, but you can't just give people 8 pages of images. You have to say, you have to come up with a story. This is so and so's life. They're traveling here. They're doing this. So the better you can sell the story, sometimes it'll help you get the job. If that makes sense.
Usually, so if I'm on a feature, usually when I present to them, I'm presenting them to them in a meeting.
In a meeting.
So I'll actually be talking to them one-on-one, and which is great because then I'll be able to be like, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that. What do you think? Do you want me to make any changes? I really feel like the character would be this way. And then if the director's like, no, I think it's more this way, I can be like, no problem. Let me make this shift. Does that work more for what you were thinking?
Okay.
And that's, like I said, it's more collaborative, and it's easier to discuss it than to have it be like, for me to write everything out. And also we move them like so fast. I don't always have time to like write out a whole treatment.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I was curious because will like AI help in that situation? Like, do you use AI for writing at all or not really?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
And switching to business, because anybody looking to get into this field, you have to have
Entrepreneurial.
a little bit of business background, a little bit of business insight. How do you market yourself? Because you don't have a website, correct?
Yeah, I'm working on my website.
Okay.
That's something I'm really trying to work on and improve on because that is such a big aspect of it. Yeah, right now I'm trying to do a full rebrand. I'm going to rebrand myself. It's never really less of a rebrand and more of just a brand.
Okay.
But yeah, that's so tricky for me though, personally, because I'm like a little artist and I'm a little shy and I don't, like, I'd prefer to go sit in the corner and work on my thing and then show it to people. I don't like having to be like, hi, I'm the guy. Like, that weirds me out.
It sounds like you worked on some pretty cool projects though, and I think
Yeah.
it'll be nice to see that because you're very passionate about some of the work that you've done.
Yeah. So I'm working on my website and I'm gonna redo my whole Instagram and I'm trying to get a new logo. I've been talking about it for like a year though, so my friends are like, Caitlin, do it or don't. But yeah, I'm working on it.
So this is a nice segue to the next question. What
Yeah.
what are your goals for 2025?
My goals for 2025 are to get my website up,
Okay.
new business cards.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I'd like to do another feature. I always love doing features and like I just want to try more stuff, do more stuff. I know you did. I don't know if you really wanted this full answer.
Good. Okay.
Last year I fabricated an alien creature, which was kind of really outside of what I normally do, but it was a real challenge and I was so excited about doing it. So I want to do another project where I get to like fabricate something like that. Yeah.
That's cool. That's great. Thank you for sitting down talking.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
This was awesome. You had really good questions.